Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we are talking about how it's looking like Nintendo may indeed have a big plan for The Legend of Zelda having to do with its 40th anniversary, and it seems like there are different things popping up that are showing that these plans are in motion. And so what I mean is that in 2026, 40 years after 1986, the release for the first Zelda game, I think Nintendo is going to have different things to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Perhaps things having to do with the live-action Zelda movie. Perhaps things having to do with Super Nintendo World. Perhaps things having to do with more merchandising. But most importantly, something, if not more than something, having to do with the game releases. And a big part of this, I think, is also going to be used to propel the beginning of Nintendo's next generation. Switch 2 is coming out in this year of 2025, and Mario looks likely to push the Switch 2 in this first year for its 40th anniversary, but for that follow-up year, 2026, it's looking like Nintendo has Zelda in mind to ensure that this generation starts off in a very legendary, amazing way. And so that's what I want to dive more deeply into today. Before going forward, let me present you this message about CaveGamers. CaveGamers can be your source for high-quality and authentic retro games. If you're looking to find an old piece of hardware or a game that you've always wanted or trying to build upon your collection, CaveGamers may be the ideal fit for you. It's authenticity that you can trust. Counterfeits are a big issue in retro gaming, but not at CaveGamers. They carefully inspect every item and receive guarantee that everything they sell is 100% authentic. Every item is cleaned, thoroughly tested, and ready to play. And there's a wide selection. Whether you're hunting for classic titles, rare gems, or retro consoles, CaveGamers has thousands of unique products to choose from. There is something for every gamer and collector. And there's also hassle-free returns. If for whatever reason something goes wrong, they've got you covered with a 90-day return policy. Your satisfaction is their priority, and you get free shipping for all orders over $25. So make sure to check out cavegamers.com, it will be linked in the description below, and if you're looking for a discount, well, you can use my discount code, Andres10. And let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So to start things off, let's take a look at this photo here that came out just a few days ago. It is an aerial photo taken of Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe, which is opening in Orlando on May 22nd. And clearly, things are under construction here, and this is the entrance to Super Nintendo World. We already know about the Mario stuff, and Nintendo's already confirmed that the Donkey Kong expansion will be there day one. But what Nintendo hasn't told us about, officially speaking, is what's going on over here to the bottom right. And so let me zoom in a little bit. And as you can see here, there's a whole other building away from this initial entrance of Super Nintendo World, and what's going on over here is very interesting, I would say. So here at the top we see the shine sprites from Isle Delfino of Mario Sunshine, and then here we see some stained glass windows. Here to the left we see Donkey Kong, what looks like Diddy Kong right there, and then here to the right we see our green clad hero Link from The Legend of Zelda. And it looks like to be some sort of depiction of this version of Link from Twilight Princess. Now, I don't know if it's actually the Twilight Princess art. I think it is evident that clearly details are obscured here, but obviously it's made to look at least very similar. And so, seeing Donkey Kong comes as no surprise because Donkey Kong's already heavily involved with Super Nintendo World, but The Legend of Zelda isn't. However, we do know that there are big Zelda plans. Why? Well, one, we now have this stained glass window, but two, a little while back, a photo came out that was taken down from various places that shows these different workers at a construction site at Epic Universe in Orlando with all these gentlemen wearing top hats. And it's these two gentlemen right here that are very, very worthy of note. This gentleman right here is the father of Mario and Zelda and Donkey Kong and so much more, Shigeru Miyamoto. Him being here shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. He's been heavily involved with all the different big Mario things having to do with the movies, the parks. That's to be expected. But Eiji Aonuma, here to the left, is the producer for the Zelda series. Him being here strongly implies that they are talking about some sort of construction having to do with The Legend of Zelda, and no, I don't think they were having this meeting here just for a stained glass window depicting Link. This is something far bigger. This is likely the next expansion to Super Nintendo World. First it was Mario, then Donkey Kong, next is The Legend of Zelda. And so you might be wondering, how could this be related to the 40th anniversary? Is it possible that they will start opening a Zelda expansion in 2026 for the 40th anniversary? I guess it's possible, but given how long it's taken them to get all these projects done, I'm going to assume that maybe not, although maybe in Japan perhaps they'll have the Zelda stuff ready by the end of 2026. Maybe that could happen. I don't want to say it's impossible. But what I do think is likely is that they will at least be able to announce those Zelda plans in the year of 2026 as part of the 40th anniversary celebration, so people at least get to see how it's going to look to some extent, get excited about that, and that will certainly cause a great deal of conversation, which will help to boost sales across the overall Zelda franchise. And that's the thing about these anniversaries and the movies and the parks and all these different things. Nintendo's been doing this lately with Mario, and it's led to great success. By pushing the parks, the movies, the mobile apps, the games, the merchandising, they all boost the popularity of the brand, and in turn, they boost sales for each other. In the year of 2023, where we got to see the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Nintendo reported how a variety of their different Mario games saw boosted sales. And so it makes sense that Nintendo would want to follow this up. We've already seen the release of the LEGO Deku Tree set for both Ocarina of Time and Breath of the Wild, and Nintendo has already confirmed that they are working on a live-action Zelda movie. And it wouldn't be too surprised if we see some updates in both departments moving forward. In the case of Zelda LEGO, I wouldn't be surprised if they release more Zelda LEGO sets. And in the case of the Zelda movie, while I'm not expecting the movie to come out in 2026, they may start to advertise it heavily. And here's a little interesting detail. The first Mario LEGO set came out August 2020. About 2.5 years later, we saw the release for the Super Mario Bros. Movie. And so recently we saw the first Zelda LEGO set released September 2024. What is 2.5 years after that point? Early 2027, which would be a year removed from the release of the second Mario movie. And so what am I getting at here? How does this all make any sense? Why is the Mario movie coming out in 2026 for the Zelda 40th anniversary at all meaningful? And what's the big deal about something happening a year later? Well, it all circles back to the launch of Nintendo's next generation. The Switch 2 is launching in this year of 2025. And in this year of 2025 is Mario's 40th anniversary. And Nintendo has a big history of celebrating Mario every 5 years. And every 5-year anniversary, it seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. The Mario's 35th anniversary was the biggest yet, and now the 40th anniversary lands us in the launch year of the Switch 2, and we're already seeing some pretty big plans for Mario. We know that the live-action Mario movie is coming out April 2026, which yes, falls out of the year 2025, the 40th anniversary. But the thing about these anniversary plans, it doesn't all happen at one point. It's a series of things that happen throughout a span of time, a big campaign to celebrate the series, and also, yes, market a whole bunch of different products that will absolutely benefit Nintendo. This is how they handled the 35th anniversary for Mario. There were different Mario games that came out throughout the year of 2020, but even bleeding into the beginning of 2021, such as the release of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, February 2021. And so far, what we know about Mario is that there is a big brand new Mario Kart game coming with Switch 2, likely a launch title, or at least coming out very early on, and that alone is going to be a big deal. But also, historically speaking, there's always a big 3D Mario out in that first year, so that seems like a fairly safe assumption to also be coming out in this year of 2025. So we have two huge Mario releases in Mario Kart and 3D Mario likely coming out in this year of 2025. And then we have the next Mario movie, which is scheduled to release April of 2026. So assuming nothing else is announced for Mario's 40th anniversary, which I think is unlikely, they already have 3 really huge things happening to celebrate the series. And all 3 of these are going to be quintessential for the beginning of Nintendo's next generation. Some of you may easily understand how Mario Kart and 3D Mario would make sense to push the beginning of the Switch 2, But with the movie, you might be wondering why. Well, as I discussed earlier, the Mario movie that came out in 2023 boosted Mario sales significantly. So if you have two huge, or probably the two biggest possible Mario releases you can put out in the first year of Switch 2, and then a Mario movie to come out just a few months later to further popularize these games and increase sales, well, that's certainly going to help boost the beginning of the Switch 2's generation. And there likely will be other Mario 40th anniversary related announcements happening as well. Maybe more LEGO sets, other merchandising, probably even more games. And of course we have the Donkey Kong expansion with Super Nintendo World and Epic Universe this May. So there's different things happening for Mario. But what does that mean for Zelda? Well, when we take into consideration that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom came out in the year of 2023, and then in the year of 2024, we got The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, two back-to-back new Zelda games. I think it's pretty unrealistic to expect a new Zelda game, 2D or 3D, in the year of 2025 to launch the Switch 2. But we've also seen that having Zelda available early on for a new console has proved to be very successful for Nintendo. And Nintendo historically always makes sure to have some sort of Zelda release within those first 2 years. And so they don't have a big brand new Zelda game ready for the beginning of Switch 2. How do they handle this? Well, perhaps by having a big 40th anniversary celebration. And I think we already see the different signs leading up to this. We've seen the Zelda LEGO sets, there will likely be more. We also see the signs that Nintendo is building something Zelda for Super Nintendo World. And of course we also have the live-action Zelda movie, which brings me back to that 2027 date. A year removed from the release of the Mario movie would be early 2027, and might be the ideal time to release the next big Nintendo movie, which has already been announced, the Zelda movie. Director Wes Ball has already finished Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes last year, and live-action movies do not take as long as animated movies. I think it's pretty conceivable that the Zelda movie could come out a year after the Mario movie. And you might be wondering, would Nintendo really want to release two Nintendo movies in back-to-back years? Well, considering it would be the beginning of the Switch 2 generation and there would be a lot of cross-promotion going on here, and these movies would also be boosting the sales of different games, then, if possible, absolutely yes. And I'm not sure that the Zelda expansion to Super Nintendo will be ready by 2026, but could they announce those plans? I believe so. And so that brings us to the bigger picture here. Getting Zelda fans engaged and ready early on for the Switch 2 generation. How do you do that? You can't do it with a new game. So what's the next best thing? A big, awesome, epic remake, which I've been theorizing for a long time. I think it's going to be Ocarina of Time. Maybe it'll be Twilight Princess. We do see a Twilight Princess styled Link in the stained glass window at Super Nintendo World. That is a possibility. Of course, we also have the Ocarina of Time themed Lego set. And then also we have two different interviews where Aonuma is clearly teasing Ocarina of Time. There's the famous Game Informer interview where Aonuma was point blank asked about Ocarina of Time remake, and Aonuma said no comment, did not deny it when he's denied other things recently, and also has a history of teasing other Zelda projects like Echoes of Wisdom, like Link's Awakening, like Majora's Mask 3D. And then we also have another interview where Aonuma teased Ocarina of Time by talking about Rauru from specifically Ocarina of Time and thinking that fans wouldn't be quite acquainted with this character and finding it very curious. And also a while back, I took a deep dive looking at different interviews with Aonuma, and there's a correlation between him laughing and it having to do with a hint towards a future Zelda game, which he does in both cases having to do with Ocarina of Time. So I lean in the direction of the remake having to do with Ocarina of Time, which would be the ideal game to celebrate the 40th anniversary, especially with a big brand new movie not so far off, where we'll probably start to see some advertisements for, maybe at least Nintendo announcing the cast in the year of 2026 for the 40th anniversary. And so all these different things may converge in the second year of Switch 2, which will also help to push sales overall. The idea is to create a lot of excitement across the fan bases here, for Mario in 2025, for Zelda in 2026 between the movie, the parks, the games. And I just think, as a Nintendo fan, we are in for a very exciting next couple of years here. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.